Good evening and welcome to the Gold Goats and Guns Hour here on YouTube and DLive. My name is Tom Luongo. It is Friday, October 11th, even 2019. How are you guys? Sorry, I could not do this on Monday, and I'll explain why in just a second. I'm going to take a couple seconds here to let some people make their way into the stream. As always, got a lot to talk about tonight, as we always do. You can follow my work over at tomluongo.me. You can follow me on Twitter at TFL1728. Obviously, you can like and subscribe to the channel and share this and do the whole 9 yards like you're supposed to do, because if I don't ask you guys to do those things, then you don't do them. And also, after every live stream, of course, please leave comments if you watch this on replay or whatever, because replays are also good. We finally passed 3,000 people on this channel, which is awesome. Every one of those has been hard fought and hard won. So, not gonna lie, it is ultimately quite an achievement. All right, why wasn't I here on Monday? Well, that's why. And you can't see them anymore because I had the stitches taken out today. But I had a mishap over the weekend, and let's just say that muscle cramps can be really bad. Let's just put it that way. I woke up on Saturday morning, my leg cramped up, I passed out, I hit my chin on the counter while trying to get some electrolytes, and then I think my face hit the floor. But all I remember is I woke up in the bathroom on the other side of the house. And big open wound in my chin, and well, 5 stitches later, that. And on Monday, everything was not in any shape whatsoever. I still had a big bandage on my face, and wasn't gonna do a live stream looking like I just got out of triage. This is not gonna happen. So, but I'm fine. I was fine really within a couple of hours of everything happening. I had guests over all weekend anyway. I took most of the weekend off, obviously. The funny part about it is when I woke up in the bathroom, right? And at this point I did not realize that I actually fell in my kitchen next to my coffee maker. And until I actually went back out into the kitchen feeling well enough to actually walk across the house to see the big pool of blood on the ground and go, oh, that's what happened. All right, fine. And I had to kind of piece everything back together again. And I went upstairs to see the extent of the damage to my chin. Like, could I just staple it together or whatever? Be completely freaking macho about it. Because I'm thinking to myself, I don't really want to go to the emergency room and have them I don't want to spend my daughter into debtor's prison to get my fucking face stitched. So I was upstairs, like shaving my beard around the wound, and it was pretty wide open. And I had a friend over. And he had just woken up and he saw me in the bathroom. He's like, the blood all over my shirt and the sink and everything else. He's like, we are going to a hospital. He was French. And he's like, we are going to hospital. Like, no, we're going to go to the urgent care center down in Alachua. We're going to hope that it's not $3,000 to get my face stitched. It turned out $250. I was in and out in an hour. They checked me for a concussion. I was fine. And then, once I got some food in me, everything was fine. So, really embarrassing actually, but I'll come clean. That's what it is. So all right, so that's what we're going to talk, but we're not going to talk about that tonight. We're not going to talk about why, when you are on a hardcore elimination diet of nothing but meat, you have to eat a lot of more electrolytes. And the reason is that your kidneys are functioning so well that you're not retaining any salt, and well, that's just what happens. So FYI, for those of you we are all the marbles in the stream, we're running RFK after the stream tonight, so get your mage on, dude. So let's do that. All right, let's talk about what's going on with Trump, Syria, and all the rest of it. I had the great pleasure to sit down and chat with Robert Steele the other day from Veterans Today and Phi Beta Iota. about a number of things, and he contacted me out of the blue after I wrote my article about the Trump's 5 tweets that might have changed everything. I don't know. I'm sure you guys read it, and well, that was a great discussion because it clarified for me a couple of things that I hadn't really put together yet, and I should have been able to put together had I even thought one. Should have been able to put these things together had I been thinking. And yes, Hevestian, at some point, I will do a stream about food. I might even do it for the last half an hour of tonight's stream if you really want me to. It all depends on what we get into tonight, but we will talk about that. Hevestian's talking about my article about about meat and diet and all that stuff. I have done them in the past, I just haven't done them recently. And I have this terrible habit of being like Patton, which is that, well, I've already covered that in the stream like 2.5 years ago. Why do I have to cover that again? Like, I don't like to cover the same real estate twice, right? I'm always thinking forward. Of course, the audience is a little different than it was then, and it's almost only like 5 or 6 of you from back then. So yeah, I should probably start see what happens. We should actually start that process from the ground up again and talk about some of the reasons why Camille and I have goats and why we have made the choices that we have over the years and all of these things, right? Because I haven't done it recently. So, all right. So I just don't eat crops, dude. So that's what my food eats. So let's talk about Trump. Let's talk about impeachment. Let's talk about why we're dealing with what we're dealing with. Let's talk about what Trump did on Tuesday to shake the world up, right? Because I haven't been around, or Monday or Tuesday, whenever it was. I haven't been around to tell you guys what I think about all this stuff because right. All right. So here we are. The first thing I saw, I've tweeted about this stuff, but the first thing that went through my head the other day when I saw Trump make that announcement was, good. This is long overdue. He and Putin and Erdogan finally had a freaking rational conversation. And what do I mean by that? Well, for weeks now, if you look through what's been happening and you've been following the little things that have been the little headlines behind the scenes, not all the big stuff, but the little stuff, you can see what was coming. That after Khan Shaykhun was taken back over by the Russian Air Force and the Syrian Arab Army, it was done because the Russians and Erdogan and the United States had made the current deal that we're seeing play out now, which is that Erdogan's going to give up all of Idlib. Right, all of Idlib province, which has been a separatist stronghold within Syria for 7 years now, and he's been resupplying them. He's been allowing them to get back and forth across the border. And part of what took so long with Aleppo, the siege of Aleppo, why that took so long is that Erdogan was allowing these guys to leave Idlib, come back and go out through Turkey, across Turkey, and then come back down around the mountains because there's a mountain range in between as opposed to going between them. And once the Syrian army had cut off Idlib from Aleppo, that's what he was allowing them to do. And at one point during the siege of Aleppo, I said, Putin and Erdogan are getting really chummy here. And Erdogan doesn't want to be scapegoated for the entire operation Syria. So he's begun to change his tune. This was also post coup attempt against Erdogan back in 2016, right? So once that occurred, once all that played out, right, I said, well, during the siege, at some point there was going to need to be a critical resupply of the rebels holding Idlib, and it was going to come from the north, and it never came. And I said, at that point, I said, Erdogan's off the reservation. He's not working with NATO anymore. He's not working with the United States. He's not working with Israel. He's not working with the Saudis or any of those guys. He's now working with the Russians to clear up, for the most part, they're willing to start clearing up his part in Syria. Because if he doesn't, he's in serious trouble. He's not going to get Turk Stream out of Putin. He's not going to get any energy contracts. He's not going to get a nuclear power plant. He's going to get any of the things that he needs. All right. And there was just a coup attempt against him, fomented from his own air base by CIA and American State Department assets, right? I know I'm going back over ancient history here, but I gotta understand the context of this. So this has been building to this moment for a long time. So when the operation to take Idlib back over began, Erdogan was ticked off because he was hoping to be able to hold on to some of the territory. He's been, for the last 2 years now, been hoping to hold on some of the territorial gains that he's made up near Afrin and hold on to Idlib in some way and all of this stuff. And he's been playing this game of playing the Americans and the Russians off of each other in order to try and gain an advantage. And Putin finally just put the kibosh on that and said, look, dude, we're wiping these guys out. You can be in our way or not. I've told Assad and the Syrian and my guys are telling the Syrian commanders, if you get in our way, bomb the Turks. They're on your territory. It's okay. We're not going to we Russians are not going to stand in your way if you do this. So when Khan Shaykhun was about to fall, of course, Turkey tried to reinforce it. That got bombed by the SAA. They had to back off. And then right after that, Erdogan closed the border between Idlib and Turkey and trapped all those guys in there, and they couldn't resupply. And they're all burning his friggin' image and effigy and all this shit. And they're all burning his image, and they're burning him in effigy, and they're calling him a traitor and a blood traitor to the cause, and yada, yada, yada. But that's what's going on here. And at the same time, he was negotiating the buffer zone agreement with Trump along the northeastern border between Syria and Turkey in order to split the Kurds up so that the Kurds couldn't continue to destabilize Turkey. Now, here's the important takeaway. So that was already all in place weeks ago. All that had to happen was for Trump to flip the switch. Erdogan's been putting the Turkish army on the border. He's been getting ready to do it. And then all Trump had to do was move his guys out of the way, because you couldn't have American troops there while another member of NATO was going to take over the area. We were always going to pull out of there. Here's the problem. And this is one of the things that my conversations with people behind the scenes have led to me to understand. And that is that the Kurds' contribution to the holding of that territory east of the Euphrates River is way overblown. And that so much of that is actually bought and paid for mercenaries by the Israelis and the Saudis and everybody else. And we've been supplying them with the guns. It's going into Kurdish occupied territory. It's not all going to the SDF. Okay? The Kurds are not going to get wiped out here. Erdogan wants the destabilization of Kurdish Syria, Kurdish Turkey, Kurdish Iraq, and Kurdish Iran to end. Meanwhile, that has been an absolute policy of the Israeli government to foment that dissent for decades. This shit's been going on for years. This is nothing new. Well documented. Not off the reservation by saying any of this. That's what's going on here. Notice what happened the second Trump pulled the troops out of northern Syria and allowed the Turks to come across the border. Who was bitching the hardest? Every motherfucking 8-pack piece of shit fucking quizzling cocksucker who works in our fucking government. That's who. Ben Shapiro's little unibrow was all at Twitter. Oh my God, the Kurds. Fuck you, asshole. You fucking Zionist piece of fucking filth. It's all about fucking Israel. This has always been about Israel. It has always been. In every way, manner, shape, or form. And with the Israelis completely politically paralyzed and Trump seeing no advantage to the United States at this point to continue to try and make this shit work, with Netanyahu under likely going to jail, and whoever winds up taking over is all they want is to deal with Lebanon and Hezbollah, and everything else can really go scratch. It's freaking Netanyahu and the Likudniks who want to deal with who have the heart on to wipe out Iran and take over the whole fucking Levant. Benny Gantz doesn't want that, and it's pretty obvious at this point that that's what Trump is signaling. He can't get Egypt on board with Arab NATO. The Saudis are on the verge of getting wiped out, both economically, culturally, politically, and militarily. What advantage is this for us to be in here anymore? And this is what Trump said the other day, and this is why he's being impeached. On top of the fact that by inquiring into Ukraine, we find out just who's dirty in the American Congress and Senate. Everyone. They're all fucking dirty. They all have some friggin' skeleton in the closet that's Ukrainian in origin. Be it a 16-year-old girl or 15-year-old boy in the case of Lindsey Graham, or an oil and gas contract. I saw a tweet the other day that made me just like drop my coffee. Like, look who's gotten jobs with Ukrainian oil and gas companies. Joe Biden's son, Mitt Romney's son, Nancy Pelosi's son, and John Kerry's son. It's bipartisanship, for fuck's sake. Like, that's what the deal is here. Did they just let him Netanyahu? Did that just happen? That Netanyahu's going to lead the government? Oh, Jesus Christ. Whatever. So, just kind of reading the comments and then having to like process the information. It's either way, even if Netanyahu like survives this, the Israelis will still be politically paralyzed for weeks, if not months from here. So none of it's good. But this is why Trump is getting impeached. This is why they brought this stuff out. He refused to go to war with Iran. John Bolton left, heard the conversation. His mustache, started having conniption fits, and he had to go run and tell everybody, "Oh my God, we've got a way to get this fucker," because he's not doing Israel's bidding. It's so sad. It's so obvious at this point. I'm just so fucking tired of dancing around it. It's dumb. Okay? Between the Saudis are just as bad. They run around, they splash their money around and think that their money buys them everything, and their money buys them access. They can get whatever the hell they want. Meanwhile, the rest of the world is like freaking burning, and these fucking sociopaths and psychopaths do not give a shit, because all they want is what they want, because their little corner of the universe is not going to go the way they want. They just think they can spend whatever money they can splash to get whatever they want. And I'm telling you, that day is ending. It's here in front of us. And I've been saying this forever. And it's not everyday Israelis or everyday Saudis that are the problem here. Obviously, it's the freaking political leadership. It's the spiritual leadership. It's whoever you want. Not that either of these are particularly spiritual countries at this point, or spiritual governments. These are the worst kind of autocracies. To call Israel a fucking democracy is ludicrous. Yeah, they vote for stuff, but like, so what? We vote for stuff. Doesn't matter. Doesn't change policy. People still get killed. Innocents get slaughtered in the name of corporatism. It's nonsense. It's all bullshit. All done. It's like watching these guys on Tuesday and Wednesday on Twitter just losing their minds. I mean, literally lost their religion in like the classic sense of the term. Oh my God, they all have the fucking vapors, for Christ's sake, that the Kurds were going to get wiped out. Because the Kurds have been the Israeli mercs now for the last freaking 10 years. And they're afraid that that if the Kurds turn around, that the FCF turns around and the YPG, that, if the YPG slash SDF, if they turn around and make a deal with Assad and Putin, that they turn around and out. Israel's involvement. It's not like it's a big fucking secret at this point. Everybody who follows this knows that the Israelis were given aid and comfort to ISIS in the Golan Heights when the fighting was down south of Damascus. These guys would get their asses kicked by the Syrian government. They'd run into the Golan Heights, and Israel would shell back across the border to protect them, and then turn around and treat them all. Like, that's what this shit is. It's just a series of friggin' mercenary armies running around trying to remake the friggin' Middle East. And the truth of the matter is that both the Israelis and the Saudis are done. They're done. Do you understand? Like, within 15 years, there will be zero U.S. support for Israel within the United States, politically. Because fuckers like me are going to be in Congress, and they're not going to have the cover of the Mitch McConnells and the Lindsey Grahams and the Pelosi's and the rest of those fuckers. No, all that's going to go away. All those boomers are going to be gone. Gen X and millennials are just not going to do this shit anymore. They're not going to genuflect the fucking AIPAC. Because who the hell needs AIPAC? Like, the Republicans run around thinking that oh my God, if we don't get AIPAC's money, we can't get elected. Like, Trump's proving that shit wrong. All he's got to do is, like, walk into a stadium, for Christ's sake, and make $5 million. Not hard. So what I see today is that Trump's going to move some more troops into Saudi Arabia to try and, like, calm everybody down and try and, like, well, I'm going to do this and drive you nuts, and then I'm going to do this and try and make you happy with me. No, they've done. They've already told you what's going to happen here. Already told you. You're going to get impeached because you're not good enough. Period. It's just the way it is. That's from their perspective. From my perspective, he's not good enough, but he's going in the right direction. Like, more of this. And the thing about the impeachment thing, and I said it in my article the other day, and I'll continue to say it. Never put a guy in a position where he's got nothing left to lose. No one is ever more dangerous than that. Ever. And that's what Trump's note to Pelosi was all about the other day. Oh, by the way, if you want to impeach me and you want to use anybody within my administration to incriminate me in your little fucking witch hunt, good luck, because they've all been told to tell you to go pound sand. So put down the Botox and step away from the impeachment, or put it to a fucking vote so we can have a proper process. At which point, all y'all are in trouble because your laundry is going to get aired with everybody else's. And that's what they're scared of. This fucking game that they play where, oh, we're going to try you in the court of public opinion, and they're going to insinuate that you're a bad guy, and that we got you with Paul Manafort, we got you with this guy, and we got you with that guy. And then, these people wind up getting indicted and arrested and held in abeyance in trial, never found guilty of anything, and then, found in contempt of court, or in Manafort's case, found guilty and then put under a gag order, can't talk to anybody, can't say anything to anyone. Why is that? Oh, because Paul Manafort knows where all the fucking bodies are buried. Knows from the ground up that he was railroaded into a jail sentence over a bullshit process crime because he was in on the operation to make Trump look like a Russian agent, and then he was sacrificed on the altar of Russiagate. Because that's exactly what happened to him. Oh, then we're just going to shut you up with a gag order. Because judges have this ability? Or shit. For what? National security? No. Bullcrap. We all know what this is about. This is literally just open corruption and naked. We don't give a shit. We don't care anymore. We rule you. We're going to manipulate the rules to do things the way we want to. And I'm telling you, that is not going to fly here. If they go down this route and they impeach Trump for Joe Biden's crimes and Nancy Pelosi's crimes and Mitt Romney's crimes and John Kerry's crimes and Obama's crimes and John McCain's crimes and everybody else's crimes, except his, because Trump didn't do anything in Ukraine. Not a goddamn thing. But if we're going to impeach him for that, fine. All bets are off, honey. All bets are off, Nancy. You're not going to live to see the day. I'm telling you, none of this is going to work out for any of these people. It's going to be bad all the way around. If the stream is getting a little crazy, I don't know. I'm losing friggin' bandwidth, and I'm not sure why. So, as always. All right. This is the earliest we've gotten to 115 people in the stream. So, Erdogan is not going to wipe out the Kurds. All they're going to do is pearl clutch as long as they can and try and make this work. That, oh, look, and not ask the very salient question, well, what? We know just fundamentally that because the Turks decided to invade that a genocide is going to take place. I mean, that's what happens when Turks get together. Being facetious, but only partially. But that's the default option here, that the Turks can't restrain themselves, and we're not asking that question as to why we're even allied with these people. It's a good question to ask. Greek people ask this question all the time. So, but there's no way that there's no way that Erdogan is going to radically overstep his bounds here. Are there going to be people? Is there going to be bad stuff happen? Or, you know, is some people going to die? Yeah. But the point of this is to allow some Syrians to go home and to end the multi-country shit show that's been stirred by the Saudis and the Israelis and the Americans and forces within the American government, forces within the British government. Start ending that. We put Turkey on the border for a couple of years, creating a buffer zone while the rest of Deir ez-Zor is dealt with. Remember, Barzani's Peshmerga forces were wiped out at Erbil by the Shiite militias 2 years ago. The Iraqi Kurds are done. The Iranian Kurds aren't organized, and the Syrian and the Turkish Kurds will be bottled up because no more guns running across from Syria into Turkey. Why do you think Erdogan is doing this? Because he knows goddamn well that the Americans have been dropping in truckload after tons of truckloads after tons of truckloads, hundreds of truckloads of weapons into eastern Syria, so that those weapons can find themselves into Turkey and destabilize his government, because we want him out of power. Because he's not good, as defined as he's one of Israel. He's a critic of Israel. Therefore, he needs to be ruined and removed from power. This is the way these people think. This is what's going on here. And Erdogan's like completely doesn't give a shit anymore. He's just calling out the Israelis for who they are and what they are, harboring ISIS, all this crap. And he's just as dirty and just as friggin'... The funny part about it is that Erdogan is just as dirty as they are in this operation. He knows that. He's even admitted to it. He doesn't give a shit. Doesn't care. I'm doing this now. Are you guys going to stop doing what you're doing? Because I'm not doing that anymore. So, the only way Erdogan stays in power is if he keeps Putin on his side. And Putin's made it abundantly clear and has got Erdogan in writing at Astana, or Nur Sultan, that he's going to respect the territorial integrity of Syria. But he's going to have to violate it a couple of times in order to get that to happen. And that's what's going on here. Okay? I've said for years now that Turkey was the key player here, that once Turkey turned, that there was no way the United States could maintain their positions in any of these areas. Okay? We are harboring ISIS cells north of Al-Tanf, the Syrian-Jordan border crossing. Okay? The SAA's got units stationed right outside the zone that we enforce. The minute that drops, those guys get wiped out. Period. They're just sitting there in camps. They can't do anything. And by the way, we U.S. taxpayers are paying for them to sit out there in the desert and watch porn. Okay? That's what we're doing. Like, you know, got bridges falling down. We got people dying in the fucking streets here in the United States. We got forest fires out of control in California, rolling blackouts in what's supposed to be the 7th most important economy in the world. These people can't even keep the fucking lights on. Christ. And I'm supposed to give a shit about a bunch of virtue signaling twats on CNN last night because one of them might wind up being my president. Yeah, whatever. Flexus looking better and better every day, all the marbles. Let me tell you, dude. Holy shit. Like, let's get Florida out of this shit show. Oh my God. So I don't know whether Trump can beat this or not. I have no idea at this point. Pat Buchanan is worried about it. His latest articles going back and forth about it. I think the odds are he beats this are better than they were when it first started, because I think Trump was expecting this at a certain level. It's why he sent Barr across the world. It's why he's got the other guy Durham running around. We'll see what they come up with. But he beats the impeachment rap, guys. I tell you, they're all going to jail. Trump's not going to stand for this shit. I'm not saying this because Trump's a good guy or he's our savior or any of this other fucking orange Jesus bullshit. This is because they trust him. And Trump is a vindictive motherfucker, and that's just the way it is. But that's the kind of guy you need in this situation. One who's ruthless and vindictive and narcissistic and mean. Yep. Sounds like Donald Trump. And that's why they hate him. Because they know goddamn well that they're going to have to pull him out of the Oval Office feet fucking first. And if he does, and if they do remove him from the Oval Office, they're all going with him, because Nancy Pelosi is not going to be vice president to President Pence. That shit's not going to fly. Jesus Christ. I almost think at this point that Pelosi is going forward with this because she gets to be the first female vice president. Like, are you kidding me? Like, Hillary's already been vice president. What the fuck are you talking about? Because, like, first female vice president, wasn't that Al Gore? All right, open it up for comments. 123 people in the stream. Gotta like that. We might hit our peak tonight if I can keep the bandwidth up. Brett McGurk. Tweety Birds reminds me about Brett McGurk. Great comment. Has been tweeting about falsehoods about Turkey firing on U.S. positions in Syria. Brett McGurk is a John McCain Institute motherfucker. And any words that come out of his mouth are to be immediately distrusted. It's Friday. Let me check my calendar. 2 + 2 = 4. Let me get my calculator. That's Brett McGurk. Fuck that guy. The area that Turkey is attacking, Stoyanovich reminds us, is Arab land that the Kurds basically cleared. Exactly. None of this matters. The Kurds aren't going to get wiped out here. Okay, there's going to be some shelling, yeah, and the Kurds are no longer going to be in control of that territory, and that's exactly what Erdogan wants. And honestly, that's what Trump and Putin want. They don't want this. They don't want this kind of instability. Now, the Kurds, they don't deserve any fucking sympathy here. These people had an opportunity 2 years ago where when Aleppo fell and it was really obvious that the Syrian army was going to retake the rest of the country. They made, the Assad government made overtures to the Kurds. I'll never forget this. And they said, look, let's talk federalization. Let's talk bringing you back in from the fold. Let's do this. And they turned them down. It was the best deal the Kurds were ever going to get out of Assad. You got to remember, guys, when I watch these things play out, I think of this like a game of Go. Okay? Remember, you guys know I play a lot of board games. And tomorrow, I'm going to play board games all day. Play some really good ones. And I'll probably play a couple of pretty crappy ones, because that invariably happens over the course of 12 or 13 hours. But Go is a fascinating game of area control. It is truly the original area control game. And The Chinese operate what's called, geopolitically operate what's called a Xi strategy, which is to place tiles very randomly around the board, intimating influence without any kind of overall discernible plan. And then all of a sudden they place, and the master doing this will then place one tile on the table, and all of a sudden the whole thing will come together. And you're like, oh, okay, I'm fucked. Game over. Yeah, that's bad. Okay? Now, when two people of unequal skill are playing Go, it is incumbent upon the person who is the higher skilled player to, one, not only offer a handicap, a certain number of stones as a handicap, but also that when they have reached the point of dominance in their mind, they are to offer a deal to the lesser player. And it's a deal that would be better for them than if they played the whole game out. So if looking at the board, the master is like, I could easily win here by 25 stones. I'm going to offer 12 in order to end the game so we can play again. So maybe he'll learn something. And I don't have to embarrass my opponent. Because remember, it's Asian. Saving face, allowing people to lose and save face is very important culturally. So when you're looking at things geopolitically, remember that diplomacy is that moment in a game of Go where the ascendant player makes an offer to end the conflict now and be willing to give up more than they absolutely have to in order to end the conflict now, because it's better in the long run to give them a little bit more now and make them happy and end the conflict. Chinese have been doing this with the United States for years. The United States won't listen. The Russians have been doing this with the European Union and the United States and the Brits for years. Putin's been arguing this with them for over a decade. They won't listen. They keep saying, no. No, I want to play this out. I can still win. I can win. And every day, they lose by more. So where you could have lost by 7 or 8 stones, you're now going to lose by 30. Because then the master is going to be under no compunction not to wipe you the fuck out. Because you don't actually have any leverage. Because the game is already over. You're just too fucking stupid to see it. That's where we are. And that's where Netanyahu is. And that's where MBS is. Trump's not there. Trump gets it. This is exactly why I lost my shit in April of 2017 when Trump bombed the airbase at Al-Sharat after the quote-unquote chemical weapons attack. Because he played directly into the neocons' hands thinking they could still win when they had already lost. And now his ability to negotiate a better settlement for us and the world melted away. And nobody watching the stream, only about 5 people watching the stream that night. There were over 200 people in the stream that night, or maybe even 300. And about 5 people got it. And everybody else lost their fucking minds. And it's the truth. And everything that's played out since then is downstream of that event. Not wholly predictable. I didn't predict everything correctly. Of course not. No one can. But you can see, but the broad strokes, it was always going to come down to Russia, China, and Iran telling the United States, okay, you want to attack, you want X, Y, and Z, you're going to have to attack Iran and take them off the map. We've game planned this out. You're not going to do that. That's going to we're going to then turn around and put pressure on Saudi Arabia until they crack. If the Israelis don't stop bombing and don't stop attacking around the region, Syrian forces, Iraqi forces, Hezbollah forces, Iranian forces, and everybody else, while saying it's always Iran, Israel's going to get wiped out too. So if you want to win here, if you want to survive, now the question is whether or not the Zionists in Israel that run that country, whether they're going to be willing to give up, whether the neocons and the evangelicals here in the United States are going to be willing to forestall the rapture for a little while and give up their unbelievable animus towards everything Russian. I don't know that they can. I mean, I'm angry because of the people that are dying. I'm angry because of the capital that's wasted and the time that's being wasted while these little people play these stupid fucking games with other people's lives for days on end. And it continues to stretch out, and it's all just, you can just see it in front of you. There's that moment at the end of Ryan Johnson's Loopers, got that great moment at the end where he's chasing the kid and the mom across the field, and he realizes that, and he's chasing his future self across the field while he's trying to kill the one guy, and he said, I see it all. I can see the whole tapestry of my life in front of me. And I close the loop, and he shoots himself, and the whole thing ends. And it's like watching this play out exactly the same way. I can see all this happening. Stop. But you can't get these people to realize it. You can't get Hillary Clinton to put down the dream of being the first female president. She doesn't give a shit how she does it. She doesn't give a shit who she has to. She just wants it. She wants it so bad. She spent her entire life wanting it. She can't stop wanting it. Nancy Pelosi still wants to be the most powerful woman in the world. She wants that speaker's gavel, and she wants to be able to go down in history as the woman who was the most powerful speaker the United States ever had. That's what she wants. Okay, the European Union, the people running the European Union, Merkel, Soros, and the rest of them, they all want the European Union to survive. Doesn't matter what they have to do to get it. They want the European Union because that is their raison d'etre. It's their reason why they even get up in the fucking morning. Benjamin Netanyahu is a dyed-in-the-wool fucking Zionist and wants greater Israel and wants Israel to rule over the fucking Goyim. That's the world view the man has. Notice I didn't say all Jews. I just said Netanyahu and his Likudniks. Those guys. The Saudis just want the Iranians wiped off the face of the planet because they're pariah, outcast, unclean Shiites. I don't know. It's the reason why these people get up in the morning. But it's the people who are not committed to these ideals, to these ideological blind spots, to these religious fervors. The MBSs, the Donald Trumps, the Boris Johnsons. These people they're not white knights. They're not heroes. They're just not, they're just not douchebags. And they can see when they're beat and go, okay, that's it. Let's do something else now. Okay, we're beat. Okay, fine, forget it. So Trump's there. MBS is there. He's talking with the Houthis. Israel, not there yet. Erdogan knew he was beat back in freaking November 2015 when the headlines rang out around the world. Erdogan's son has been selling oil for ISIS. He was like, oh fuck, I'm screwed now. And that guy turned like that. All right. Well, look at what's been going on in Italy since they got rid of Salvini. That fucking two-faced motherfucker Conti. Not only is he letting in all the friggin' letting everybody in. What did he say today? I saw that. It was insane. Oh, that they're buying debt in U.S. dollars. Like it's going to get even worse for Italy. They don't want to buy debt in euros. They want to buy them in appreciating dollars. That's really smart. Oh my God. Like they're going out of their way to destroy Italy even faster by doing that. That's going to destroy Italy's comparative advantage in the marketplace and their fiscal position even faster, which is exactly what Mario Draghi and the rest of the fuckers in Brussels want. They want Italy destroyed completely. So that when their debt collapses, they can just bail it all in and seize all the friggin' property and destroy their fucking sovereignty. That's what they're going to do. And Conti's going to hand it to them. And that stupid little shit de Maio handed them that. And that guy was supposed to be a reformer. You can see it. All right. Even Israel, Stoyanovich, just to put I'm going back to the comments. That even Israel is threatened to attack the Turks. Of course, they're finally outing themselves as to what they want, what they actually need and want. Chris Bacon says, all Western governments are going nuts over the Turkish incursion, so Erdogan must be doing something right. Exactly. Always, whenever you're confused about a policy, well, whoever's complaining, look at that guy. If the right people if the wrong people are complaining, it's probably a good thing, even if you don't understand why. Black Duct Tape says, aye, Captain T, dropping true base note bombs from the GGnG deck of the USS Precision. Keep her up, Captain. There you go. Oh, yeah, well, that's my P base. So I just picked up another base earlier in the week, by the way. I picked up a little Hofner, a little Chinese Hofner. I wasn't going to spend $800 on a German one. Not the violin bass like that McCartney played, but the little mini Les Paul one. Actually, dude, seriously, like, I get short scale. I'm gonna veer off into like cool stuff in a minute. With short scale basses, like I don't have very big hands, so do with that what you want. I don't give a fuck. So full scale basses have always been a real problem for me, which is part of the reason why I have really bad carpal tunneling and other problems in my wrist from trying to overstretch playing the bass all these years on a regular 4-fret stretch on a 34-inch scale bass. I've got that. You can't see it. There it is. So over there is a little Ibanez Mezzo bass that I picked up. It's a B stock that I bought to try and teach my daughter how to play. That's a 32-inch scale bass, which is a very cool instrument. Great sound. Yeah, it's got active EQ in it, which I don't particularly like, but I'm really seriously thinking about buying one of those and buying a pair of some Seymour Duncan quarter pounds and put it in there, because you get a good one for $300. You get a good one and it plays like fucking butter. But I gotta get it in fucking bright metallic orange, because bright metallic orange. Dude. But I picked up this friggin' 30-inch scale Hofner for $250 on Pro Audio Store. I have one on sale. I'll buy it for $250. I'll play around with it. I was playing it this afternoon. I put some flat wounds on it. Oh my god! Like, why have I not been playing with flat wounds my entire life? I've been playing with half rounds mostly, and I don't play with full rounds. But yeah, it's a beautiful little bass. It's not great, but I can see why people play Hofners. It's because they're short scale, semi hollow bodies. All this rich, deep bass, these rich bass notes underneath that you don't get from all this. You don't get from these like hot AMGs and all these fat humbuckers. You just don't get them. You got to get that shit out of the and it's not 9 pounds. They get it out of 4.5 pound bass. It's freaking amazing. So it's cool. If you're a bass player, you should really consider at least having one around as a fun thing to do something different, because it has a completely different sound. Which is interesting, because P basses sound like P basses and jazz basses sound like jazz basses, and then every other bass on the market tries to sound like a P bass or a jazz bass for the most part, and then you kind of fuck, or a Stingray, and then you fuck around with them from there, and then that's that, right? But it's the Rickenbackers and the Hofners and a couple of others that are on the market. Those classic basses, they just don't sound like anything else, and they have their completely unique set of things, and there's a completely unique thing happening here. And it just plays differently, and it's really quite cool. So I'm really happy with it. I'm probably gonna, I don't know, we'll see. I'll play that one for a couple months. We'll see how I like it. If it holds, I don't expect the electronics in the Chinese one to hold up. So at some point, you're gonna have to buy a real Fender P bass. You're gonna have to buy a real Hofner, And when you're buying a Rickenbacker, well, guess what? The electronics have always been shit, and there always will be shit. But it doesn't matter. Things sound like a Rickenbacker. Rickenbackers are awesome. So you just live with the fact that you're spending $1,300 on, really crappy electronics. But it is what it is. Pickups are fun. It's the pickups that matter anyway. All right. Let's see. What else have we got here? Of course, Pelosi is only following order. Somebody said that. I saw that as it was going through. Pelosi's always been an order taker, not an order maker. But it doesn't matter. She's happy to get her Gibbs out of this as well. Okay. And Scheckelberg says, in Switzerland, where I am, I like the Kurds better than the Turks. I don't like either of them. I'm not here to make the decision of who's better or worse here. I just know that the Kurds always make the wrong decision. They always stir up trouble because they're always paid to stir up trouble. They're just mercenaries. They want their own homeland, but they're not going to get their own homeland. And they're not going to get it by being assholes that then stir up trouble and raise armies and then try to create insurgencies. They would probably have, Syrian Kurds probably would have had their own country ages ago. Same thing with Iraqi Kurds. Ages ago. Barzani, had he been smart, would have actually had, and not taken Israeli money, not taken Saudi money, not taken US money, right? And just worked within Iraq. Eventually they would have gotten what they wanted had they worked with local population, the people that they're dealing with, as opposed to being, as opposed to constantly taking friggin' guns and money and then going on a rampage. The people that Erdogan's going to wipe out are not the Kurds. The Kurds will be the excuse. It will be the Chechens and the Uyghurs and all the rest of them been fighting for ISIS that Putin is not going to allow out the door. They're all going to get fucking bombed and their throats slit. Make no mistake, because Putin does not want them going anywhere. The whole purpose of Syria is to bottle them up in Syria and kill them all there. Because the whole purpose of the American, Israeli, Saudi operation in Syria, the whole purpose of Operation Syria was to turn it into a failed state and hand it to these guys and then send them at Russia through Turkey, through Iran, through the Caspian Sea. That was Georgia and Armenia. That was always the plan. Joe Elf says the consequences of not allowing someone to save face after a war are best illustrated by the Treaty of Versailles. Well said. Beautiful. Matter of fact. Thank you. So, Tenjin says the Saudis are a soft target, which is why Iran has targeted them. Look, and remember, I said on Monday we were talking about. Did I talk about this on Monday? Yeah, a little bit, or recently. The whole peg for peg thing. I've got my my article into strategic culture, should be out in a couple of days. Is entitled "A Peg for a Peg," and it goes over the hybrid war attack that's happening in Hong Kong, right, to break the Hong Kong dollar peg, while the Saudi peg is under attack from the Houthis, Iran, the general instability created by the Aramco attack and everything else. Reckless Abandon, the great Brett Harris in the House, says, look, going back over to what I said earlier about the Israelis and the Saudis, and they want this and they can't let it go. He said, look, they can't give up their hate. They can't. I'm not going to go. Now, I'm not going to. Those people, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's for their own people and their own governments to do what Brett is suggesting. But I've said for years that the traitors here in the United States, the Lindsey Grahams, the Nikki Haley's, and all of their enablers in Congress, if it's proven that they've been like passing secrets to the Israelis and helping to foment, false flag incidents and the rest of it, and it's all, working with foreign governments for these purposes, these people are all traitors, and they should all be hung over the Washington reflecting pool and by their toenails and fed to dogs, as far as I'm concerned. That's what you're supposed to do with traitors, aren't you? I don't want them part of my community. I don't want them representing me, and I don't want them spending my fucking tax money. Homeland Security Secretary to step down next week. Well, that's interesting. It's funny. A good friend of mine, when the situation was going on in June over the drone, he was reminding me that you know, the Iranians tend to overplay their hand. They tend to let their macho get away from them, and they tend to overcommit to their winning, right? And he was reminding me I should be careful about how I phrase my support for Iran. I'm not really supporting Iran. I'm just telling their side of the story. Scheckelberg's comment now, the Jews always wind up shooting themselves in the foot, is very similar. They don't know when to stop, right? They don't know when to say enough is enough. Okay, we're beaten. They won't accept it, and they continue to try and weasel out of things. They continue to try and get what they want by going around and it never ends. And we sit here and we continue to paralyze our freaking foreign policy over this shit, and it needs to end. Tenjin reminds us that Western delusions have simmered since 1945, and the boomers have never seen a world where the West isn't in total control. To them, it's unthinkable, and the idea that they're not going to be in control tomorrow is kind of crazy, but they're not going to be. Trump should have cleaned house years ago. Can't. RJN reminds us to listen to what I said earlier about the evangelicals and the rapture. It's very rarely understood and why they explains their support for Israel. Yeah, because we created this whole concept of the Judeo-Christian tradition out of whole cloth in the 1950s to get them on board with this crap, with this whole neoconservative interventionist foreign policy shit. Yeah. Conti is so Sayanovich, going back to breaking. French President Macron is talking with Trump about ending a Turkish Operation Peace Spring. Yeah, because again, no one in Europe or the United States in that power structure wants to see Syria end satisfactorily. Turkey will not take orders from Trump or Macron. I can tell you that right now. Erdogan is not taken orders from either Trump or Macron. He takes his orders from Putin. Yeah, and you guys are all saying the same things to me. I got Tenjin saying, got to hand it to leaders like Erdogan and Putin. They are patriots. They want their countries to win. They're not global sycophants. Exactly. Erdogan has learned very well how to make this stuff work. So, yeah, the Iran. I didn't talk directly about the Iranian tanker. I got a blog post up about it this morning. Orange base, small hands. See a trend here. Nice, Doug Murray. Would Seafoam Green be better, dude? Beautiful. Doug Murray with the comment of the evening. I'll go with that. No six-string fretless basses like Les Claypool. No, I'm not I like Les, but I don't. I can't play like him, and I never will. And I'm a Geddy Lee kind of guy. I do love Les Claypool. He's amazing, but I don't. Guitars are worse for you financially than basses. Oh no shit, dude. I own guitars too, but I refuse to spend more than $500. So I got a couple of those. I got a couple of really nice Epis that I have, but yeah, that's about it. 3,000 troops heading to Saudi now. This is to shore up the Saudi government. Pure and simple. And they're now worried about what I've been telling you for the last couple of weeks, which is that there's a lot of noise on the ground that the Houthis would attack Medina. But now they're putting the American troops in the way of Houthi forces. So they're just trying to shore up the Saudi government. And that's actually a sign of unbelievable weakness. Yeah, the Rojava project, yeah, the Kurds in Rojava are communist, North on 60. You're absolutely right. What is your take on the repos and the new QE, asked J.A. Wuku. A little off topic for the evening, but not really. It tells you that the world is far worse financially than anybody wants to admit. We've got a severe dollar liquidity problem. We've had this for at least 2 years now. Jeff Snyder calls it Eurodollar number 4, going back to late May 2018. It kind of started before that anyway, but the world is short offshore dollars, and they're and all of the instability, political instability and whatnot coming from around the world is putting people in a position to hoard dollars, and they're hoarding dollars left and right. And the Fed is trying to inject liquidity into the system through the repo markets and now through QE. I was expecting them to go for QE like next month or sometime in late November. That they're doing it now, like the day after the original repo operations were supposed to end, and they're going to start next week buying $60 billion a month. Dude, things are really, really, really bad. But I've been telling you, and I've been handicapping for a couple of years now, that we're entering into a massive sovereign debt crisis, like the likes of which the world has never seen. And all these little... See, this is the thing about what like guys like Netanyahu are complaining about. I got news for you. None of this shit's going to exist. All of these structures that they think they're going to be able to continue to latch onto and to hold onto, none of them are going to exist in 10 years. Like, the IMF's not going to exist in 10 years. Okay? Because the IMF is going to bail out Europe, and then the IMF is going to have to get bailed out. The whole thing is going to collapse. All the post-World War II institutions are going to collapse. All of them, including the European Union, possibly the United States. Crispy bacon, crispy bacon, nice. The Kurds are disposable tools of Zionism, unfortunately, yes. Israel warning against the ethnic cleansing of the Kurds is code for don't kill our mercenaries that we paid so much money for. We have Iranians to kill, Goy. Don't you understand? Come on. What's wrong with you, Goy? Come on. Don't you understand? I'm not even doing my good Jewish accent tonight. My good New York Jewish accent tonight. Come on, Goy. You know what the problem is. Come on. You fucking assholes. I'm so fucking tired of it. This is going to get me like banned from the internet, this stream, I'm telling you. Of course, the Fed's trying to lie about QE, because you never want to state what you're actually doing. But yeah, when it's funny. Starhaze says, to put it all in kind of perspective, that Iran is the existential boogeyman for both the Israelis and the Saudis, because without Iran, they lose their political leverage for military adventurism, and for the most part, the reason for their governments to actually do anything at all. So, speaking of the literal devil, Nikki Haley was yapping off again. I know. She had to come out, and I guess she got the day off in Waffle House. Who were the Judeo-Christian signers of the Declaration of Independence, I wonder, asks LG Bear. Yeah, that's a great question. Going to be a hell of a fun time to be a traitor, says Alden Marbles. Yeah, it is. If you're willing to, if you're that kind of guy. I'm not, so I don't. Tangent, just tell Google that your impressions are based on Seinfeld characters. Because they pretty much are. And half the people I grew up with in upstate New York. All right. Looks like I've caught up to the comments. We're past an hour. It's time to go. Reminder, yeah, after this, we're running Razorfen Crawl and World of Warcraft Classic tonight. At least I am. I don't know about anybody else. And if y'all don't show up, fuck you. I'm going to do it anyway. Or Scarlet Monastery, most likely RFK. All right, guys. It's been fun. It's been real. Have a great weekend. All that kind of happy jazz. Latest issue of the newsletter should be out soon. So if you like what you heard tonight, give a like and subscribe down below. Please consider donating to the stream either through PayPal or crypto, or sign up through Patreon. We've solidly crossed 300 subscribers now on Patreon. Should have some other news in the coming days as to where else I'll be. You'll be able to see my work. And as always, keep your stick on the ice.